Welcome. Here we unpack the science of reading and bring you real talk and real strategies for helping students thrive. I'm your host, Marisa Bernard, and today's episode is one you'll want to bookmark. We're talking about what I call the power trio of literacy success: vocabulary, background knowledge, and comprehension. These three components aren't isolated. They're deeply connected, and when we understand how to nurture each one intentionally, we unlock a deeper level of literacy instruction. Today, we're going to walk through what each component really means, why each one matters, and most importantly, how to build them in practical, daily ways. Whether you're a parent, a classroom teacher, a reading tutor, or a homeschooler, this episode is for you. So grab your coffee and join me in the Literacy Lounge. Let's set the stage first. We talk a lot about phonics, and yes, it's essential. Students must be able to decode words automatically and accurately. That is non-negotiable. But let me ask you this. Have you ever worked with a student who can read the words just fine, but has no idea what they've just read? Maybe they sound fluent, their decoding is strong, but when you ask a question like, "What was that about?" you get a shrug. That's where this episode comes in. Reading comprehension doesn't just happen. It's not automatic. It requires a rich understanding of vocabulary, relevant background knowledge, the active use of thinking and comprehension strategies. Together, these create meaning. Without one of these pieces, comprehension suffers. Let's start with vocabulary. Here's a quote I love. "Vocabulary knowledge is the best single predictor of reading comprehension." That's from the National Reading Panel, and it's backed by decades of research. Vocabulary is the bridge between decoding and understanding. You can sound out the word reluctant all day long, but if you don't know what it means, you don't really comprehend the sentence. So what kind of vocabulary should we teach? Let's break it down. Tier 1 words are basic everyday words: cat, happy, jump, run. Tier 3 words are academic, subject-specific words: photosynthesis, tectonic plates, quadrilateral, but it's the Tier 2 words that are the most powerful in building comprehension. These are high-frequency words that appear across subjects, texts. Words like grateful, observe, predict, delicate, demand. These are often words that hold the meaning of a sentence together. How do we teach them? Don't teach them in isolation. Embed them in meaningful text. Introduce them before reading. Point them out during reading. Revisit them after reading. Use student-friendly definitions. If you're teaching generous, don't say that generous means liberal in giving. Say generous means you like to give things to others, like time, help, or gifts. Provide examples and non-examples. Is it generous to give you a cookie when I have a whole bag? Yes. Is it generous if I hide all the cookies and eat them myself? No. Encourage deep processing. Use it in a sentence. Draw it. Act it out. Make connections. Let's take the word exhausted. Act out being exhausted. Compare it to tired. Use it in a silly sentence. The goal is not memorization. The goal is ownership. Now let's move on to background knowledge. This is the part that often gets overlooked, but background knowledge is absolutely critical for comprehension. Why? Because comprehension is the brain connecting new information to something that's already known. Think about it. If I read you a text about cricket, the sport, and you've never played it or watched it, your brain is working double time just to make sense of the structure and rules. But if you already know how cricket works, you can focus on the new information the text is providing. That's background knowledge in action. So how do we build it? Read across the curriculum. Expose students to science, social studies, biographies, global cultures, art, and current events through reading. The more knowledge students build, the more they have to connect with the new information. Pre-teach with a purpose. Before reading a story set in the rainforest, spend about 5 to 10 minutes watching a short video or looking at a diagram, and then ask questions like, What animals live in the rainforest? What's the weather like? What do we already know? Even 5 minutes of background information can dramatically improve comprehension. Leverage oral language. Talk about topics before reading them. A conversation about community helpers builds background knowledge for a nonfiction book about firefighters. Use storytelling, ask questions, and encourage kids to explain things in their own words. Revisit topics over time. Don't teach volcanoes once and then never return to it. Revisit content in different contexts over the years. 1 year it's a storybook, the next it's a science article, then it's a writing assignment. That's how knowledge sticks. Now we get to comprehension itself. Here's the key. Comprehension is not a passive outcome of reading. It's an active, strategic mental process. We need to teach students how to think as they read, not just after they read. Let's look at some powerful comprehension strategies. 1. Making predictions. What do you think will happen next? This activates prior knowledge and sets a purpose for reading. 2. Asking questions. Good readers ask questions as they read. Why did he say that? What does that word mean? Encourage students to wonder. Visualizing, asking students to describe what they're picturing in their minds as they read. If they can't visualize it, they're probably not understanding it. 4. Summarizing and retelling. Ask a student to retell a passage in their own words. This is a great way to assess understanding and help them to identify the main ideas. 5. Clarifying vocabulary and confusing parts. Teach students to pause and think, wait, I don't get this. Let me reread. This metacognition, or thinking about their own thinking, is a game changer. 6. Making connections. Encourage connections to themselves. This reminds me of to other texts. This is like another book we read. To the world. This happens in real life when the more personal and relevant the reading becomes, the deeper the comprehension. So let's get practical now. Imagine you are about to read a text with your students about the Apollo 11 moon landing. Step 1, build background knowledge before reading. Show them photos of the moon landing. Watch a 2-minute NASA clip. Ask, have you ever seen a rocket launch? What do you know about space? Step 2, preview and teach key vocabulary words like astronaut, mission, launch, orbit, gravity. Define them in student-friendly ways. Use pictures. Say them out loud together. Number 3, model comprehension, thinking as you read aloud, and pause and ask, that must have been scary. Imagine being the person on the moon. I wonder what kind of training they had to go through. Step 4, use comprehension prompts after reading. What surprised you? What was the mission goal? Why was this event so important? This approach makes reading active, engaging, and rich in meaning. You don't just read a passage, you build understanding, and that's what we want. Here is your encouragement. You don't have to do all the things at once. Every small step toward building vocabulary, background knowledge, and comprehension makes a difference. Read aloud every day. Talk about new words. Ask open-ended questions. Watch curiosity bloom. Literacy is not just about sounding out words. It's about building the knowledge and thinking habits that help students understand and engage with the world. So let's review. Vocabulary gives students access to meaning. Background knowledge connects the dots. Comprehension is the active, ongoing process of constructing meaning. Together, these three are the foundation for deep reading. So let's commit to teaching them with intention, modeling them in every subject, and talking with our students, not just at them. Because the more we model, the more they learn, and the more they learn, the more they grow as readers for life. That's it for today's episode of Literacy Lounge. I hope this gave you some practical ideas and fresh inspiration. If this episode helped you, would you take a second to share it with a fellow teacher, tutor, or parent? And don't forget to follow and leave a review. It helps more literacy lovers to find us. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, keep believing that every child can become a joyful, capable reader. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.